Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of Spoiler Force Podcast. You can find more episodes on any podcasting platform such as Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure to follow Spoiler Force Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch. So my name is Ricky. This is Spoiler Force Podcast. I'm with the great Rob Olson, and it's an honor to meet him.
Well, I don't know about that. Fortunately for all of you out there and me, Ricky has lowered his standards with respect to voice actors. But from Yakko, I just want to tell you guys you are listening and watching the Spoiler Force Podcast. See you in the water tower. Good night, everybody!
This is a FlowGasm Beats production.
All right, so this is episode 83 of Spoiler Force Podcast. My name is Ricky, and thank you for tuning in. As you can see in the background, I am not exactly where I usually record. I'm actually up north in Michigan, so I'm actually at a family member's house. But anyways, I do want to let you guys know that this is the last episode of the month for now, because again, if you've seen the updates on the Spoiler First podcast page, I will be taking all of next month off to just edit, upload, and kind of sort things out at home. That way, next month you'll have like episodes 81, episodes 81, 82, and this episode on YouTube and all podcasting platforms. But again, just make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe so you guys can get those updates and listen to previous episodes too. Make sure you guys also check out the Epic Sewers Podcast Network. I'm with the guys like Turtle Tracks, Tales from the Sewer, Comic Watchers, What's in My Head Podcast, and Epic Shows. These guys have been a great group that I've been with, and just all supporting each other and each other's podcast. So make sure you guys check those podcasts out too, and share their content. So this week's guest, I have someone who's been on the podcast before. He kind of just debuted a little bit. We didn't have a full episode to talk about it because we actually met during the pre-Halloween live podcast event at Otaku Detroit, which is located in Madison Heights, Michigan. So make sure you check out that store for all your anime needs, food, snacks, toys, any figurines, posters, wall scrolls, whatever. They have it all. So make sure you check out those guys at Otaku Detroit. But yeah, let me just introduce my guest here. He is with Nebula Amusements, which is a local Detroit business as well. So make sure you support local Detroit businesses. Let me bring my guest here, Mike Castro.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, Mike, thanks for doing this again, man. So again, we spoke about a little bit about Nebula during the pre-Halloween event. But, for the fans and listeners who didn't watch that video or attend that live event, can you kind of explain what you do again with Nebula Amusements?
Yeah, so in the middle of 2019, I imported a high-end augmented reality attraction from Japan. And I guess before I can really describe what it is we have, I got to talk a little bit about how AR works. So most everyone is familiar with VR. You put on a headset, and when you look around, all you see is a video game world. And if you look down at your hands, it's like fake avatar hands, usually not connected to a body. They're floating. And you can't really run because you can't see what's in the real world too well. But with AR, it's kind of the opposite. So instead of placing you inside of a video game world, it takes a video game and layers it over reality, kind of like CGI. So the best example of this, and this is a very low level example, would be like Pokemon Go. When you look through your screen, you see the world, but it's putting, Pokemon in it. So that's kind of AR tech. So what we have is a 20 by 30 foot court. So it's a physical court. You're not playing over the internet. You're wearing a headset and a motion sensing wristband. It's 3-on-3 dodgeball, but you're not just like simulating throwing little rubber balls. You're shooting like Dragon Ball Z or Overwatch style energy orbs from your hand, and you're raising shield. You can raise shields that kind of look like they're from Tron. And so you're playing dodgeball, but it's more like having superpowers. And what's cool about AR is the fact that you can see everything. So you're seeing each other, you can see yourself, and so you can see yourself in cosplay. and you could be Goku or KDARE or whoever, and you're shooting orbs of energy from your hand, or Iron Man, it's coming from your gauntlet. You can even hold small objects since it's based off of motion sensing. So if it was like a Harry Potter themed event, you could have a wand and it would look like it's coming out of your wand. You can change your stats each round, everything from the speed of the blast to the size, your charge rate, your shield strength. And so, you can also theme it to the object you're holding. If you have like some sort of steampunk arm gauntlet, you can make a slow charge, but a very large blast. Or, if, like I said, if it's a wand, you can make it really small, fast. And you can just, build team strategies. And it's a big sport in Japan and some other countries. It's new to the US. There's now only 3 people who have it. There's a place in California, a friend of mine at Cyberpunk Sports in Austin, Texas, and then myself in Michigan, where I have exclusivity. We generally take it to comic, anime, and gaming conventions, but obviously we didn't do anything in 2020.
Yeah, that's what kind of sucked, because 2020 we were all locked down, and it's even kind of going over to this year. With what you're doing now, are you just running it by yourself, or do you have a team with you too?
So it takes about 4 people to set up. To actually run, you can run it with about 3 people, but we generally have to have 4 so that people can go on breaks. Because when we're doing conventions, sometimes it's like a 12-hour, 13-hour day, and you got to give people breaks. You have to give them long breaks, because you can't just say, here's a half hour for lunch, because then they have to, because the lines to get food at a con is like extremely long. So you got to have enough time. So it takes about 4 people to run. Basically, you have to accrue. It's pretty large, about 4 hours to set up.
And you guys also do like private events too, right? If people wanted to book you guys, not just for conventions and whatnot.
Oh yeah, we can do anything. We can do private events, team building exercises, corporate events, like lock-ins at high schools or church functions. We actually just started partnering with Escape Novi. So escape room company out in Novi. They have a lot of mobile like trailers that have escape rooms built into them, as well as they do mobile tent ones. And so that's the one thing that's tough is for a lot of entertainment attractions is companies, whether it's a con or if it's just like a high school, they need to know what your hourly throughput is. So let's say you do a high school lock-in and it's like 200 kids. Well, how many people can do your attraction within an hour? How much is the cost? All that has to be weighed out. So I like working with other companies and putting together like kind of like turnkey entertainment events to where it's our attraction, their attraction, another attraction. So there's enough for everyone to go through and do different things. I've been always looking to do events with other people. And so I had one of the things I had in the works that I was mentioning to you last time was looking at doing a anime hero training camp and then also theming it differently. And so what we have so far is, it would be, they're going to bring a hero themed escape room. I'm going to bring in Hado, and I'm looking at some different attractions for the third attraction. I would like to, I found an axe throwing place that also does shuriken. And they're looking to put together something mobile right now. They're only in a fixed location. But if that's the case, you come in, you pay one price, you come in with a group of 6. It'll be 3 different groups at a time, but everyone stays separate. So the escape room's outside, the axe throwing's outside, Hado's inside, so everybody's distant. So by the time we go to do this, I'm looking, later in the year. But if COVID is still an issue, we want to keep everybody separated and isolated. So your group would come in, you do one of the events, you get a 10-minute break, you go to another event, do a 10-minute break, go to the other activity. And before you do that, you get your picture taken if you want to be in the cosplay contest. And it simulates the ideas. The cosplay contest would be, you're choosing your hero costume. The escape room would be like your teamwork, and it's hero themed escape room. Hado would be your superpower training. And then the shuriken and knife and axe throwing would be your weapons training. And so I think it's just like a fun thematic experience to where it's more than just the sum of its parts, like a convention. You're not just going for, okay, there's going to be some panels. There's going to be maybe an arcade. There's going to be some celebrities. There'll be a rave. There'll be, vendors, but it's more than the sum of its parts. It's an entire experience altogether. And because you can buy stuff online whenever you want, you know what I mean? But it's it's the experience, it's the exclusivity of it that makes it exciting. And so I want to kind of create smaller events like that where the price is better, to where our event will be cheaper than, like, it'd be like hypothetically like $40 and you're getting 45 minutes at each of these events. That would cost you way more to buy all those things individually.
Yeah. But no, that sounds awesome. And just like, because I'm picturing it as you're explaining it, like that, it's almost like a theme park, sort of just going there and just experiencing each venue or each different stage of the park that you guys have planned. Now with the augmented reality, you mentioned about adjusting like the shields or like the blast and stuff. The last time we spoke, you said you guys were kind of doing that with the weapons, right? Having each weapons with its own settings. Is that something that you were still doing now too? Like getting that through with all of the other experiments that you're doing with Hado?
Yeah, for the first set of that, I'm going to be looking to get some wands, to get some really nice wooden wands, and because we are, as I was talking to Escape Novi, after we do the anime thing, we were going to change it up, switch out the third attraction. They were going to bring a different escape room, and then we were going to do like a fantasy themed event. And they have escape rooms, all kinds of. They have ones with like a dungeon escape one that they had built for the Renaissance Festival. They have some dragon themed ones. They have those are their mobile ones, and they have ones where they can make it in the building with a tent. And in that one, it's like a magic theme one where you, like, at the end you have to get a wand, and then it'd be cool if you got the wand, then you get to use the wand in Hado, and then find a third attraction that fits, and just to create these different experiences. But yeah, that's something I'm looking to do. Because we weren't allowed to earn any revenue, but we still had to pay all of our bills for the year, it kind of drained us. So that makes it really, really tough to move forward. Like, we were set to get a physical location. Now that's been pushed out because we have to get some more income and stuff. I am talking to a very big company. I don't want to say who it is yet because there's nothing locked in. It's just, I got to finish this application, and I might be able to be one of the only company on the East Coast to carry this product while they're testing it. And but it's the commercial, like, not the at-home versions, but like commercial, like you can't have this at home type thing, for Mario Kart VR, Dragon Ball Z VR, Gundam VR, Evangelion VR. But like, you're in an actual, like, sitting in a car, and it moves and vibrates, and wind blows in your face when you're playing the Mario Kart, and there's no controller. When you come by, you reach your hand out to grab the coin boxes, and you throw them with your hands. And also a Ghost in the Shell 4-player VR arena as well game. And but these aren't something that you can buy. You have to apply, and they're testing it. They got some in California. There may be one in Washington. There's no guarantee I'm going to get it. It's based on your location. So I'd have to take it to Detroit to have a large enough population for them to approve it. But what's nice is they need to know all the details of your building and all that stuff. And so because we don't have one yet, I can buy one that matches what they want. And so that's what I'm looking to do for that, to bring some more things to the area that no one else will have.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that too, about to see if you guys had a building for Nebula. But that's awesome, man. Like now to get those brands, like for example, like Dragon Ball Z and Ghost in the Shell, you would have to apply for those licenses, right, for using those brands.
So this company is one of the biggest arcade companies in the world. They have those licenses. Those are their games that they made. They only released them in Japan, and they just put some out to test at some place in California. But Nintendo licensed them. Like, they did the VR Mario Kart with them. Ghost in the Shell, even they all have those rights already to make those VR games, and so it's all legit. And so then, just like when you buy any arcade game, like, oh, I'm going to get a Ninja Turtle arcade game. Well, whatever company, whether it's ICE or whoever makes that arcade game, they have the license, and then they sell you the system. Or just like if you buy the Dragon Ball Z game for PlayStation or Xbox, it's not like you have to get a license to own it. PlayStation has a license, Xbox has, or whatever software company made that game and sold it to them. So it's pretty much like that. So they're already licensed. It's all legit. And that's their arcade game. And that's the distributor that they made it with. And they are testing the markets here because they're not sure how those games are going to do. I think they're underestimating how, I mean, obviously Mario Kart will be here. They have a Godzilla VR. They have all kinds of titles. But I'm focusing, aside from Mario Kart, I'm focusing more on the anime stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Because I think with them, or I don't want to just say that they're underestimating Detroit, but obviously in Detroit we do have a pretty big anime population here, that people who love anime themed content. So I think that should do pretty well. But yeah, man, that's bringing that kind of thing into Detroit would be something new. I know that we have a lot of like a lot of the classic arcades coming back again, and like you were saying earlier with the escape rooms and axe throwing stuff, or axe throwing venues that are here in Michigan. It would be nice to see like that all kind of just be combined, just to
Yeah.
have all one area just for all that, instead of going to separate locations and going to places that you usually don't go to. Now, was there a spot in Detroit that you were kind of eyeing towards for? Like, was it going to be downtown Detroit or somewhere outside of that?
If I were to go to Detroit, I would love to be, is it Michigan Avenue? What is the TCF Center on? Like what stretch where the Renaissance Center and the TCF Center is? That's where I would want to be in
I
Detroit.
think so. I'm not too familiar with
Yeah.
downtown. So.
Yeah, I don't live in Detroit. I live in Lapeer and work towards Flint. But that if I was gonna be right in Detroit, that's kind of where I'd want to be. And then also you're right next to the border. Or I'm really interested in like Ferndale, Birmingham. That area, I like the downtown areas over there, Royal Oak. I like those areas. They're just very expensive. So I got to see what's available, what's large enough. For me, so my company, Nebula Amusements, I own that company, but that's not how I make my living. I'm an automotive worker, and I'm also a UAW committee rep alternate. So I'm part of the union, and we had that big strike in 2019. And I'm bringing this up because it's just the idea that you have this big company, individual workers, they're not going to be able to compete with this big company, but it's when we all unite and work together, now it becomes a force where, okay, now we're a big bargaining unit. Or if you just look at the whole Reddit stock market thing with GameStop and all that, and the hedge funds. So it's when people work together, even if you have less resources than what you're going up against, if you combine your resources and work together as a cohesive unit, you can accomplish big things. It's just like, like like a bunch of smaller mechs coming together to form a giant mech,
Yeah.
And so I take that same union mentality into what I'm doing. That I'm not like a lot of like people who own big entertainment centers and stuff. They got a lot of money, and it's hard to compete. So when I got Hado, I was like, okay, well, that's the name of the attraction. It's short for Hadouken, like from Street Fighter. But I was concerned that, like, what if I get this and I begin to build a following and it becomes popular in the area, and then someone with more money goes, oh, cool, thanks for putting in the work. Now I want to order 12 of these things and put you out of business. So that's why I landed that exclusivity deal. So now I have that. I don't have to worry about, anyone doing that to me. So now I'm free to work with other companies. And it's like, okay, I can't afford to make this big facility that I want to make with all the attractions that I want to make. But there could be other people like me who they have one or two things and they have a couple of things, and we can all work together, partner either for events, or when I get a facility, I would like to have, besides what I own in there, different things that happen. So space that's just open. So maybe for this month, we're just going to have a bunch of vendors, Michigan vendors that generally do anime and gaming conventions. And they're set up in there for a week. So you come in and you're doing our stuff, but that's there for you. And then the next week it might be, or the next month, it might be an escape room for the month, or it might be a local esports company. So that way it's almost like a mini convention where the attractions there's the staple attractions, and then there's stuff that's changing. And so maybe if I can't start off affording an entire building by myself, maybe there's someone who has a great restaurant and they're having trouble finding a place they can afford. Well, we can be separate businesses. I can rent the place out and they sub rent, the kitchen from me or whatever it is. I like working with other companies. I connected with a guy named Dave who owns Psychic Drive, and he has a bunch of candy cabinets, which is like, like video games, and he has like DDR, and I think he has enough machines for like roughly 40 people, and he gets paid to bring them to cons. And what's cool about him is he went a similar route where there's a lot of our arcade vendors who are fighting for these events, like at Mopop or Youmacon or wherever. And if they all buy the same stuff, then just, the one company's going to win and everyone else is going to lose. So he decided he was going to stick with no one else is doing candy cabs. So that's going to be my niche. And so I'm so tired. And so he was able to partner with Tokyo Attack, who has a massive arcade. He's since retired, but and and all these different arcade companies, because they're not really competing, because they're both bringing something separate, putting it together and making a larger arcade. So that's what I'm looking to do as well. So I was talking to him about potentially doing some stuff. I talked to Modern Pachinko, which is, they're almost like a cross between a slot machine and a pinball machine. They're very big in Japan, about maybe having them come out or purchasing some machines from them just to create these different experiences. And I want to expand everything, like comics and everything, but the beginning focus will be anime, simply because Hado is a Japanese product, and our first big convention we did was an anime convention.
Yeah, you guys started off, or at least you guys did Youmacon. Was that one of the first conventions you guys were, I guess, debuted at, or did you guys go to any other?
So when we first got it, we had to get trained. So a gentleman from Texas flew up, Bryce from Cyberpunk Sports. I talked to Meeleep, which is the company who created Hado, about because they were going to send someone out, and I requested him because I had called him just to get, hey, I'm thinking about buying this product that you have. What do you think of it? Are you happy with it? Because he doesn't work for Meeleep. So I ended up negotiating with them to have him do my training. So he flew out. So we put on like a small event in Flint, and it was more about getting a crew together and learning how to set it up, how to operate it, get everything installed, and then, just kind of practicing with customers and get everything going. It went all right. And then after that, we did an outdoor event, which is actually very difficult for us to do. Normally we can't do them. One, sunlight will mess up with the tracking. If you see our setup, we put a bunch of, I forget what it's called, but like photography lighting all around, so that the lighting's all even. So when the orbs go through, like light can, like light bends, and it can cause it to, like, instead of going straight, it'll go straight down and up and do weird things. So you have to have good lighting. So sunlight can mess it up. And then also the game requires the use of banners on each side. There's code in them. It sees where you're at, and it helps track where you are in space. It uses other elements as well, but that banner matters. And they're like 10 by 9 feet. So you can imagine if a gust of wind hits that, it's a giant sail, it's going to go flying. So there's a safety concern and all that. So, but we were able to do Lapeer Days Festival, which is outdoor, because they had like a massive, like a really, really big pavilion. And there's tent walls that roll down from it. So we were only open on the one side. And so it ended up working out where we could do an outdoor event. So we did that. That was fun. That went all right. And then the people who played it really enjoyed it. We had one guy come over from the beer tent, and it was an awful experience. So I was just like, hey, man, I'm going to give you your money back. You need to stop right now, because he was just being wild. And like, we were trying to teach him how to play, and he wouldn't let us teach him. And then when he went to play, he didn't know how, because he wouldn't let us teach him. And he was like barrel rolling on the floor. I'm like, dude, you're going to break stuff. Like, you got to be done. But other than that, it went good. During the strike, I brought it up to the Union Hall to try to raise some funds for the people on strike, for food and stuff while they're out there on the lines. And then we did Youmacon after that. We got booked for Replay Effects. We were booked for KimiCon. We were in negotiations with a bunch of conventions in 2020, and they all canceled. Everything canceled. And then 2021 has been very difficult to get booked because so many places are unsure. A lot of cons want to move forward, but they want to be safe, and it's a lot of money to plan a convention. And so they can't dump all this money into it just to cancel it and lose it all. So there's some events I'd really like to do. I really want to do Motor City. I really want to do Youmacon. I really want to do JFAX and AkitaCon, but I'm not sure which of those events are actually going to be able to take place this year. We were booked again for Replay Effects, and they didn't dissolve completely, but they're no longer going to do conventions. And so, and I didn't find out till just the other day. We're booked for KimiCon again, but we're in negotiations with a lot of companies, but nothing is locked in because of all the uncertainty. And it makes it difficult.
Yeah, it's extremely hard. I think earlier, just this month already, there was already some conventions that were booked already that's canceled because of like you said, uncertainty. I mean, hopefully things get better later on this year, but it just seems like everyone's just so unsure of how they're going to run things, especially with like I guess just social distancing is probably the biggest thing because
Yeah.
with events like conventions like that, they're so big and everyone's just like damn near shoulder to shoulder with everyone. And now with distancing, I don't even think like it's gonna be so hard to run conventions again or even attend conventions if they open again. And just having that kind of limited space does take effect on not just the people going there, but like vendors like you and other like toy vendors and stuff like that, or comic book vendors. Like it just running the business makes it just a little bit more difficult because now you got to just deal with more extra things on that you never had to deal with before. Uh, Now with Hado and what you're doing with Nebula, you do plan to take this out of state as well, not just in Michigan, or do you guys ever thought about like just like traveling, I guess, with the
Oh yeah.
experience?
Yeah. Like Youmacons in Toronto, Replay Effects is in Pittsburgh. Um, I'm down for going anywhere within a 10-hour drive. Um, or more if the but the thing you have to consider is all cons have budgets, and the further we go, the more costs it adds. And so then it drives the price up, and we can price ourselves out of certain markets. So there was a place in Vegas. It's a really nice gaming convention. And when you hear Vegas, oh, they must be rich, but it's not like a casino putting it on. It's just a con. And they wanted to have us out, but the amount of money it would have cost to drive that thing across the country and how many days it would have taken. So all the hotel costs for paying someone to drive it out there, it drove the price up like to the point where I could have did for that amount of money. If they would have been within 6-hour drive, it would have been like 3 to 6 events. You know what I mean? So it's like it rolls our price substantially. So it wasn't worth it to them at that point. So it just depends on the size of the convention. The bigger the convention, the further we'll go. But I like the closest one. I want to do Chicago, things in Chicago. I really want to do Anime Magic. I talked to those guys last year, and we did everything we could to get in there. I mean, when I say we, I don't just mean me. Like I got a hold of them later in the year, and they wanted to have me out so bad. So we were out brainstorming, and the problem for them was space. Most of their space was taken up, and our attraction's kind of large. So they're like, all right, we're going to do next year. We're going to do next year for sure. 2020 ended up getting canceled. And when they released their date, I was already under contract for another convention. So I couldn't, really connect with them. But that convention just got canceled. So I'm going to reach out to them. I got a call. I actually already have a call, kind of scheduled with them. So we'll see. We'll see if it's not too late again. Because, a lot of these companies the people are so just easy to work with. So nice. Like Cora Cantu from Dead State Design, who handles all the arcade and game room stuff, or at least the video gaming stuff for Youmacon, is just she's awesome to work with. A gentleman by the name of Eric from JFAX. Even though we didn't get to do JFAX, just negotiating with them, it's just there's a lot of good people in the industry, and I know a lot of them are being creative as possible, trying to find ways to have their event safely. And they're, a lot of these companies, they have meetings constantly. Hey, is it safe? What do we do in this scenario? What are we going to do in that scenario? And a lot of them are switching to virtual, which isn't as cool, but it's still better than nothing. And, I appreciate all the work that all those companies put into trying to, that they're really saying, if we can have this, what's the safest way we can do it? They're in connection with state officials to make sure everything's, legit. And they're always ready to, cancel it if need be. And it's an industry where they're putting people over profits, and I appreciate that. It's just dangerous because they might not exist if we don't show them whatever support we can show them.
Now, are you guys like taking I guess donations as well for Hado, since you guys weren't able to do your business last year at all? Like because I guess funding must be. Is that still a big issue for you guys still, because you guys weren't able to go out to conventions and I guess showcase the events and all that?
Yeah. We had an Indiegogo campaign. It did not do too well, but we still got something out of it, and we were very appreciative for it. So the next thing I did is I just printed up some shirts, some Hado shirts. They're fitted because I didn't want to get just like some cheap shirts and like, all right, I'm gonna sell these for a lot to make some money, because I wanted something that I'd actually wear. So they're like they're fitted. They're more expensive when I bought them. They're tagless. They got, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, probably not, but they have our logo like in the back of it instead of a tag. They're nice. We're doing those for $25 donation. We're giving those out, and I'll mail them to you. If you want one, you can message us on Instagram or Facebook, Nebula Amusements, and we'll get, anybody who wants one, we'll get one. I'll send you one. So after we're done, just message me your address, and I'll just give you one.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on the show. But yeah, we're $25 donation, and we'll send you a shirt. We have everything from extra small to double XL. I think, yeah, we have extra small to double XL.
Yeah, so anyone who's listening or watching at this point, definitely help support local businesses as well, and make sure you guys check out Nebula Amusements. The links are in the description below. I think I forgot to mention that earlier before we started this episode, but yeah, the links are in the description. If you're watching this on Facebook, and then if you're on Twitch, just make sure you guys follow the other social media links for Spoiler Force, and you'll definitely find Nebula Amusements links in the video and stuff like that. Do you want to start your own podcast? Then sign up with Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout has helped hundreds of thousands of users to begin their podcasting journey. With easy-to-use tools, you can effectively get your podcast onto many platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and more. You can view stats, create audio clips, and even have your own podcasting website. Buzzsprout also offers ideas, tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you improve your podcast. Follow the link below, and once you sign up, you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card. This will let Buzzsprout know that I sent you and also support Spoiler Force Podcast. Happy podcasting. If you're into anime, manga, or anything that's from Japan, Otaku Detroit is the place for you. Located at 513 West, 11 Mile Road in Madison Heights, Michigan, you can find a variety of manga books, anime figures, collectibles, posters, snacks, and even authentic items from Japan. Stop on by to see store owner Matt and let him know Spoiler Force sent you. But yeah, to move on, from all this, I know, again, with your business, you do concentrate pretty heavily on the anime and manga themed, I guess, genre. We spoke a little bit earlier through the Facebook message, and Attack on Titan was something that you wanted to talk about.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Now, for those of you who are listening, Attack on Titan's been crazy these past 6 episodes, pretty much from when the season first started, just doing this time skip. Now, Mike, have you been watching the manga or the anime the entire time, or have you been reading the manga too?
I haven't read the manga. So for me, I watched anime when I was younger. I'm 38, so I'm kind of old. So when I was in middle school, I saw a little bit of Sailor Moon, and then my friend's older brother and his friends were into anime, so I watched like Akira and different things with them. And then I had a friend in high school named Aaron who was really into anime. So every time I go to his house, he'd show me like different movies and stuff. We would just, whatever, like Ninja Scrolls or whatever. So most of, what I seen through him or friends. And then he got me into like Dragon Ball Z, and then I'd start watching like Toonami. So it'd be like Trigun and Inuyasha or whatever. And then I loved Cowboy Bebop, had such just this cool mellow vibe. And then I kind of just got away from it and didn't really watch any for a while. And then we did Youmacon, and we had someone play the game, and I didn't recognize the character, but what was really cool is they had all these tails. Well, I know the characters now, it's Katie Ari. They had all these pink tails, and when the lighting hit and our screen capture grabbed it and put it on the screen, it made her tails glow, and they looked digital, and they actually matched the color of the orb she was shooting. So it basically digitized her tails. And I was like, this is awesome. And I was like, all right, I need to and I just saw these amazing cosplays, and I was like, all right, I need to figure out what's what and know what I'm looking at here and seeing which one of, what stuff fits our game, so I ended up downloading League of Legends, got super addicted. And like, and then so I was just playing that all the time, even though that's not anime. But then it led me into like, okay, I saw someone else who was had a really good cosplay of Uravity. So then I was like, all right, well, let me check out this show. It's pretty popular. And then I got, even though it's kind of kiddish, I still really like My Hero Academia. So I like binged all of it and got all the way caught up in like a few days. I have insomnia, so I'll get home from work and I'll just binge something. And then, so then I was like, all right, I'm going to rewatch Cowboy Bebop. And then I rewatched Cowboy Bebop. And then I watched Death Note, which was amazing. And it would have been my favorite anime. But after, what was the first guy investigating L or Light?
Light, L, right? Yeah, L investigated Light, and then it was the other two characters. I forgot their names already, but it's been so long since I watched Death Note. But I was late on Death Note too when I first watched it.
When L died, the show just it ended bad and everything, but it was amazing up to that point. And then a friend at work was like, "Oh, okay," because the friends at work was like, "You need to watch Death Note. You need to watch." And they told me the premise. I was like, "That doesn't sound interesting at all." But I watched it and it was really good. So another friend was like, "You should watch Attack on Titan." I start watching it. And as soon as I saw the Titans, I was like, this looks stupid. They look like giant toddlers. Like, this is ridiculous. But the story is so good. And now that we're in this final season, like, I am so upset that they're only half-hour episodes, and I get a half hour each week, and I have to wait. It's driving me crazy. Like, I just want to keep binging it because it's amazing. Like, what do you think of that last episode?
It was, well, I read the manga, so I already knew what was going to happen, but just waiting to see how they were going to animate it was beyond what I imagined, because with the Attack on Titan, they switched animation studios, so now they're with MAPPA, and people were like, kind of, I guess the general public or casual fans were more upset that they switched animation styles, but I thought they did really well, especially with pretty much with the last 3 episodes, from Declaration of War to to the fight to Assault last week. It's been crazy, just seeing how they just jumped into that kind of progression from just just dialogue and storytelling to now you see Eren just attacking the city and going nuts on everything, and then you see like the Jaw Titan, the Warhammer Titan, the Beast Titan, and then you see the like Mikasa and their crew come in, and it was just so hectic, but it was just awesome at the same time seeing it animated. And man, they did the manga. I think they did the manga justice, but it was awesome. Just seeing just seeing all these characters finally interact again and seeing them all together. And for me, Attack on Titan was such a big thing for me, especially because of the music. And you could just sense that sense of urgency from all these characters, and just like how crazy their fights were, and like trying to just survive that battle. Yeah, but it was, last week's episode was amazing. It was just when Levi came in and like the Beast Titans, like we got the battlefield, and just comes out of nowhere and bam, gets him, and he just drops.
Yeah, I'm curious to like, obviously he shot those like missile things in the back of his neck, so I'm curious if they're gonna somehow get him, somehow he escapes, or if he's out. And then I'm curious if he's done for, is Gabby gonna eat him? Because they got to do something wild with her. I mean, because
I know. Yeah, I won't
I'm like,
anything.
What's gonna happen? And so there's that. I didn't know that they switched animation studios, but I could tell that the animation was different. But it fits because it fits thematically on different levels. One, because they're in a different part of the world now, right? So it's like it shows that a lot of time has passed. The style of the show, it's much faster pace and more action and less, like you said, less story, more action. But it is story, but it's just more action, less dialogue. So it's the whole feel of it has changed as well, but it's natural. It's the climax. It's what we've been building towards. And I just, dude, there's just so many questions that I have, like what's going on with this, what's going on with that. Like, obviously I know what I want, or like what's natural, for us to want would be like, okay, somehow all the Eldians unify and they go to Paradise and then they're free or whatever. And the Marlians just leave them alone, whether they defeat them in war to get it. But that's also not realistic to an extent without there being some conflict. I'm curious as to Aaron, if his whole plan is, because you know how like he gets glimpses of the future.
Yeah.
And so if there was something he saw in the future where he recognized, like, I have to do this terrible stuff and kill a lot of these innocent people because it's the only way for, you know, X, Y, and Z to happen. And I see that if I do this, this will happen. So I'm willing to make that sacrifice. And, you know, that might play into the conversation he had with Reiner, why he's doing what he's doing. Because he's come to realize, like he said to him in the basement, like, okay, there's good people on both sides, but yet it doesn't change the fact that I'm still going to come at you. And so I wonder if that's just his stubbornness or if there's something he can see. And then now that he's absorbed the Warhammer Titan, what new memories are going to pop up there? I'm really bummed he didn't get the opportunity to eat the I forget what that Titan's called, but it's the one with
the jaw Titan.
The jaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, the jaw Titan that Ymir had. And then how the Warhammer Titan's going to manifest in him, you know, because you know, it manifests different in everybody. And he didn't even get to like eat Reiner, but he got some of his spinal fluid. So then he was able to harden. So I'm just wondering how that's going to affect him. You know, I'm real interested in Gabby's storyline and where that's going to go, because she's basically, even though as far as story wise, Reiner is their Aaron, but as far as personality, I feel like Gabby is their Aaron, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like she's like, because it's almost like it's just repeating itself, sort of, you know, like how Aaron and Armin and Mikasa saw the Colossal Titan. Aaron is now the Colossal Titan to Gabby and Falco and to the other kids now.
Right.
So it's almost like it's reversed now with this storyline. Yeah. But I think, you know, with Gabby's character, there's so much irony in it, right? Because she's technically an Eldian, but she's been, you know, brainwashed by the Marleyans, giving them the history and propaganda, saying like, you know, these are the demons of the island there, and you know, you got to fight for your country, which is Marley, but Marley still kind of treats them like shit, you know. So it's a lot of the I guess you could say a lot of the political things in Attack on Titan, which I enjoy a lot too, because it's almost like real world kind of thing. And with, you know, I had a cousin of mine who we were talking about like Reiner's situation, and like my cousin, he's like, you know, I'm so glad Aaron did what he did at, you know, on Marley, you know, attacking them and going nuts, because that's the justice that they deserve. And for me, like, yeah, I get that. Like, I agree with Aaron, but at the same time, like, I also kind of relate to Reiner's character, because now that they've given you Reiner's backstory more of like what he was going through when he attacked the Paradise Island, you know, he was just doing it for his mom and for his people, which were the Eldians on Marley. And so, you know, now that he regrets his actions, there's, you know, all that, I guess you could say, karma, or the consequences of what he's done came back full circle on him. And so that's what I like about, you know, this current season so far, is like now you see both sides of both Aaron's story and Reiner's story, and how similar both of these characters are at the end anyway. And now it's just about who's going to take the power from who. And I think with Aaron right now being, you know, the one with the most Titan powers right now, it's going to be hard to kind of beat someone like Aaron, especially with his mindset of just so being focused on, you know, I'm wiping out everyone.
Yeah, and then to deal with the military, they have Arwen as the Colossal, so he can always just nuke everybody like he did the ships. So
yeah,
I'm curious too, is if they're going to, you know, are they setting up for them to, hey, we're going to do this differently? I think there's going to be some uniting at some point with the Eldians from Paradis and the Eldians from Marley. At some point, I just don't know how many main characters have to die for that to take place. But I think they kind of are shadowing it a little bit with when Arwen was talking about, is this what Berthold seen? I don't know how to pronounce his name. What is that? Bernhold?
Berthold?
Colossal.
Yeah.
Him. Yeah. When after he had blown up all the ships and then saw all the civilians that died in the aftermath, and looking at it like, is this what he saw? And so I'm wondering what kind of shift they're going to have. Is it going to be a happy ending? Is, you know, are they going to unite at some point? Is just the army going to bomb them all? how's this going to turn out? I appreciate because they're showing you that it can't end with the Eldians still being in internment camps and subjected to, basically racism, just because like they're not going to tell a story where the racists win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they stay, like in internment camps, that you can't tell that story. It's just, it's not even our history. Our history is to always fight to overcome that and make progress in those areas to overcome. To me, it's not realistic for it to end with the Eldian Marleys still, or the Marley Eldians still being subjected to them. It's just not natural. But it's also not natural for it to be a perfect ending either. So I want to know what Reiner's intentions are. If he's just going to let Eren kill him, or if he's there to persuade him, or if he just wants to fight so he can hurry up and die, because in the last episode he just wanted to die. If the kids are going to be able to convince him to defend them, how that's going to go. What it looked like his Titan was different now. There's like spikes in his back and stuff. So how did he evolve?
Yeah, like people were like on Facebook. You see if you see the memes of people think like there's this meme that was going around that kind of irked me because I read the manga, so I know what's going on. But like they were saying like Eren is losing his humanity while Reiner is gaining his humanity, and they showed the picture of Reiner's current state with his Titan form. And for those of you who are listening, that's not Reiner gaining his humanity. I can tell you guys that it's his incomplete Titan form, because subconsciously he turned because he heard the kids. He heard the kids screaming for his name to wake up, so he did turn. But it's not complete because, like all Titan shifters, there has to be a goal. They had to have a motive to transform. And obviously Reiner, with his mindset being in that state, being, depressed or even suicidal at the point, he doesn't want to fight. So he's in his Titan form, but there's nothing there to fight for. So now that's why you see his face like that. It's not covered in armor. But I mean, there's going to be a point, man. I can't wait for them to show it, but like just to see like when I don't want to give any spoilers, but they just seeing all the Titans together, that kind of thing. Like eventually they're gonna try to show something like that. But with the ending that you brought up, Mike, I don't even know how the ending is gonna be. Like, all I know is that the writer Isayama, he just says that just be prepared for that ending because I don't even know how it's gonna turn out.
I expect eventually, like once all is said and done, that Eren and them get the victory. But then after the victory, or at least Eren dies, I think. I think that's probably natural. There can't be a him and Mikasa end up together because he's already a Titan and they only have a limited lifespan anyways.
Yep.
I don't know if Levi is going to die, but if he does, Mikasa is going to take his spot, being the best. Basically, she's the female version of him, but younger, and they're related. So I expect, something like that to happen, or him to retire, or whatever. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see some more relationship building between the two of them, since they're related, and that hasn't really been addressed much. When we find out that they have, I don't know how, I think they're cousins or something, but they're from the same bloodline, and
yeah,
that's why they're so great at what they do. And so I'd like to see a little bit more with that. Because they did that whole backstory of him, and then it just seemed like, oh, now that's done.
Yeah,
I'd like to see a little bit more with that.
Well, they come from
he's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, they come from the same I guess clan. I guess that's the best way to put it. They come from the same clan. I don't think they're like technically related. I mean, they share the same last name. But Mikasa is like, they did mention in the show she is like half Asian, and so that's not really a big play, but then that kind of just, for me, that was enough to say like, okay, so her and Levi, they're not really related. They're just, because the Ackerman clan is just a group of people they experimented on to see if they can have supernatural abilities. And then that's why, like, when you go into Levi's backstory, like when Kenny talks about like the Ackerman clan are a little bit like they're not controlled. So they're a unique set of people, but I think for now it's just Levi and Mikasa right now. That's the only Ackermans left. I'm not too sure. I mean, I hopefully they showcase more, but
yeah, okay.
but yeah,
I thought
it's
they on their bloodline. I didn't know that. That's cool. Thank you.
yeah, it's just like minor details that people will probably just miss. But I mean, at the end, I mean, they're still from the same group of people, so it doesn't really matter. They are like, you could say, like distant cousins, I guess. But yeah, it's just like, with this ending, man. I think Eren will die too. If he doesn't die, then obviously other characters have to die in that spot. Now, do you think that either, because the rumors are like, I don't think that both Mikasa and Levi will go. I think one of those two are going to have to go.
Yeah.
And I think more likely that it's going to be Levi that's going to go versus Mikasa. But for Eren's sake, I think that maybe it's going to have to be one of the main characters that takes him out. Like, one of my theories is I think maybe it could be Armin that takes him out, or it could be Mikasa that takes him out.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting plot point if it was Mikasa. If Eren lives, then Mikasa might have to give her life to save him at some point. Might be a thing. Yeah, if one of their own has to kill him, it's definitely going to be her or Armin for sure. They have to definitely be one of them, or else it just would,
Because I don't see this as like with all the three of them together. There's no way with the way how they're writing the story, even in the anime, like they don't even show like anime or manga, the way how it's going in this direction where Eren is pursuing what he's doing. He's not being the typical shonen protagonist. He is doing exactly what regular people would do. No power of friendship type shit. So he's going nuts. And I think really when it comes down to the choices Eren makes at this point is going to affect him at the end of the series. And someone important is dying for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I keep going back to it, but I think because a friend of mine at work brought this up, and it was like he also he kind of got me onto this. He thinks that it's something that Eren can see. That is he going, okay, this sacrifice has to be made for this to come out, or for this outcome to take place, and it's not just his idea, but it's actually what he saw in one of his visions, and no one else is quite not, they're not sure, like, what are you doing? Like Mikasa's like, dude, what are you doing? You're killing these people. Like, why are you doing this? Come home. And that feels like that would help protect the character. So as in, like, because we don't want him to become a villain, It's like if you look at, like, say, like Breaking Bad, you start off viewing Walter White as the hero, and you view Jesse as like, oh, that's just some punk. Like but by the end of the series, Jesse's the hero and Walter White's the punk. He's the villain.
Yeah.
So he's the bad influence. And so, with the attachment that I have with Eren, I don't want that to where it ends with is him becoming the thing he hated. But at the same time, that would be really good storytelling. So I wouldn't be opposed to it, because I love, like, my favorite show is Game of Thrones, and that is definitely not everybody gets what they want in the end,
Yeah.
So
no,
I can deal with it.
Do you agree with Eren's choices, I guess, so far in the anime? Because, like, a lot of, again, with all these memes on Facebook, a lot of people think that Eren is not the best, or he's not doing what a protagonist should be doing. And so, like, I even shared this meme on my Facebook page on Spoiler Force, like, where it's Tanjiro, Natsu, Goku, and Naruto, like, they're crying, like, you're not doing the hero thing, and then Eren just like, oh yes, rumbling, like he's just doing what he wants. Now, do you agree with Eren's choices? Going back to Marley and just wiping them out, or trying to wipe them out?
I think this is I think there's layers to it. I believe when he first arrived, his goal was to wipe them all out. I do not think that's his goal now. I don't think his goal is to kill everyone. I think his goal is to kill what he perceives to be the threat, and whatever it takes, that's what he's doing. So the archetype of the hero is pretty close to perfect. It's as close to perfect you can get while still being human. And But that's an archetype. It's where you take the best features of everything we think of as being heroic and you put it into one figure. He's behaving more like a real person who is a good person in a bad situation with bad experiences. And so we can, if we're, even though obviously it's all fantasy, if we look at it through that lens, then his actions are more understandable where he can still be good. Do I agree with all the actions he's taken? I don't like the outcome. I don't like that a lot of those kids died. I don't like that people who were civilians died. But he's been there for a few years now, right?
Yeah.
How many years has he been there?
4 years.
4
Yeah.
years. He might have some intel and information that we don't have from not being there to know, like, okay, this is the best way to meet the objective. There is no other way. I would hope he would, like, to me, I'm always in the mentality, okay, kill, the people who are making the decisions and the people who are the threat, not the lower level soldiers who are just doing whatever, you know what I mean? Like, but was that possible? Was the only time for him to strike is when they were all together? Like, was there any other way for him to possibly have done it? Is this the only way he could have done it? And that's the question, is it's not should he have done it, but is it the only way? And it would have been the result if he didn't do it. And so the reality with any type of war is I'm talking about like wars with militaries. Like, there is no war where innocent and good people do not die. There's no way to do it. And that's why war is such a terrible thing. I can't remember the saying verbatim, but it's something, so I'm probably going to slaughter it, but it's something along the lines of, war is worse than hell because at least in hell, only the guilty are punished. Only the guilty suffer, something along those lines. Whereas in war, innocent people suffer. And so it's hard to make that call. It's definitely not ideal. I don't agree with, all the, I hated seeing the kids die. I hated Gabby seeing her friends die. I hated people have the buildings crushed. At the same time, there has to be acknowledgement that, well, you guys attacked us. They were just chilling in Paradise. And for years, the Marlians were just sending Titans. And they had no real way of fighting back. And so when they show up, they get surrounded. Well, the only way, all right, so they're surrounding us to kill. Well, the only way is to nuke them with Armin. And then as a result, innocent people died. But why are we in this mess in the first place? Was Aaron's target those people? No. His target was the naval ships that were there to destroy them and then sail to Paradise and kill them. So at what point does it become, is Armin and Aaron killing innocents, or essentially is the Marlian government and military using innocent people as a shield? Because how many innocent people did they kill when they had the Colossal and the Armored Titan attack Paradise? So it's a tough situation. I don't like it. I wish there was a better way, but I don't know. And he was there for 4 years. So did he have an objective view? Like, did he have an unbiased view of making the plan? Or did he allow his anger and his pent-up stuff about all the suffering that him and his family went through and his people went through, that it clouded his judgment where he was willing to do worse things than maybe that he needed to? But something tells me that I don't know. I don't know. It's tough. Sorry. I took a long time to answer.
No, it's
that,
okay.
But
You had a great explanation, man. Because I like hearing this stuff from other viewers too of Attack on Titan. Because for me, I don't, because I read the manga. I don't have a lot of folks that I discuss Attack on Titan with. So I like hearing people's perspective on Eren, because again, Eren is not the typical protagonist. He's doing things like as if we would in real life would do. Of course, like for example, like for me, I would have done that too if I was in Eren's shoes. Like I would go out there and seek revenge or try to find my own justice on the people that attacked my people, that kind of thing. And I mean, it's a real life thing, man. It's not like Naruto where Naruto just became friends with everyone with his talking. It's that's why I like Attack on Titan, because it's not just the storyline, but like what they do, the choices they make. It's more realistic, and it's definitely more humanizing to these characters. That okay, I can see why they're doing this. And really, when you look at the show now, there really is no good guy versus bad guy. It's just people all in they're all in the consequences of war, just trying to find their own peace. So that's what makes, again, I think that's what makes the show so amazing, because you can't really pick a side, because you pick the Marleyans, you see how fucked up the Marleyans were. You pick the Eldians or the Paradis people, yeah, they were the victims, but look what Eren is doing now. He's doing almost the same thing back to them.
Yeah.
So it's either or.
I think you hit the nail on the head with something. The overall concept being that even though the show is fantasy, the storyline is realistic. On war, there's good people on both sides. Objectives can be wrong, but objectives aren't what fight war. People are what fight war. The people who are waging the wars make the objectives, but the people who actually fight the wars are just people. Obviously, there's exceptions to this. My son. Obviously, there's exceptions to this. Obviously, like there's no, good excuse to, be in the Gestapo. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
There's definitely a point where I'm not justifying following the concept of I'm just following orders. I'm not justifying that. Each person has to make a decision for themselves. But in a propaganda situation where you are misinformed to believe that someone is your enemy who's not, like all the propaganda they did before Eren transformed about how Eren's going to do this and all that. But they didn't mention anything about, we've been attacking them and just,
Yes.
because we want their resources. They didn't mention any of that. So it was dishonest. So in that sense, because they don't really have the soldiers don't really know the true objective, then I don't blame them for following orders, because what they believe the objective isn't the correct objective. Where if you look at Nazi Germany, they were honest about what their objective was. Oh, we're going to kill these people because of their race. And they were like, okay, at that point, they're making that choice. But I don't feel like the Eldian soldiers are 100% at fault when they made the choice when they were misinformed. Where it became, and they showed this early on, when Reiner and them were in Paradis and where he started to get confused. These are my friends. No, they're my enemies. They're my friends. And when every negative thing he did, once he began to see things differently, he's now accountable for, because it's no longer because he was lied to, because now he knows the truth.
Yep.
That some of these are good people and they're not trying to come and get us and all this different thing. And he continued with the actions. So at that point, now he becomes guilty. I think when they first arrived as kids to do what they did terrible things. Stop. He's funny. I'm sorry.
It's cool.
Yeah. So they did. It's tough to, because how do you justify just, I'm just going to go and kill all these people who are just living? There has to be a point where you're faced with it. And so I guess even after that first attack, they should have been like, what are we doing? If there was humanity in them, at what degree do you have to be brainwashed that you're willing to overlook that? And where that comes into is where that applies to the real world. And you can see it a lot, especially in our politics for the past 4 years. When you demonize the other, then you view them as demons and you feel no remorse, and then you can justify to yourself treating them in an inhumane way, because they're not a human, they're a demon. And if you look at there are things worth hating, for sure. There are evil things that you have to fight. And it's not like, we're all just going to be friends and agree to disagree. There's a plenty for most things you can agree to disagree, but there are certain things that you cannot agree to disagree. If, you're out at a party and some girl passes out and your buddy's like, I'm going to, take advantage of this girl. Like, you can't agree to disagree on that. You got to stop them. There is no agree to disagree. Well, I don't agree with what you're doing, but I'm going to leave the room and let you do it. No, you got it. You have to fight. You have to stop them. But there are a lot of things to where I feel like goalposts are being moved, and it happens a lot. and it's easy to, our tribe versus their tribe, and they're bad and we're good. And when the more you begin to believe those types of things, it'll justify in your mind doing atrocious things to what you view as an enemy because you believe they deserve it and that there is no other way. And obviously some of that has made its way into the show. And I love the realism of it. And so circling back, the best version of fantasy is when the world and the rules are fantasy, but the story is real.
Yes.
And that's what we connect to the most, because then it touches us on a human level, what we've evolved to, because we're human beings are a story-based culture. We tell stories, and we transfer culture through stories, whether it's movies or standing by the fire thousands of years ago talking. And then so we need that realness in those archetypes, because they let us know that something is correct or incorrect. And a really good example of that is take something fictional like Batman, right? Batman isn't real, right? He's made up, but there is still rules to who he is. So if they release a Batman comic where like Batman's super happy and he's wearing pink and he's just the nicest guy in the world and he tries to talk things out with villains, we're all going to say that's wrong.
Right.
But how can it be wrong when he's not even real? Well, it's because there's a cultural collective archetype of who he is now. So when they do a movie, we decide, nah, he's not good as Batman. He is good as Batman, but Batman's not even real. But it's because we collectively share this meme of who Batman is. And so we have that with heroes. And that's what makes the whole thing with Aaron interesting, because as you were saying, he's not the typical protagonist, shonen protagonist, but he is a more realistic protagonist. And so that's why I think it still works. And there's it's just, there's so much there. I think that it's brilliant storytelling. It's more than just like it's a lot deeper than Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why, again, man, that's why Attack on Titan, if, for those of you who are watching or listening, that's why I recommend this anime so much, man, because it's so much, there's so much more depth to the story and to the characters. And again, with the realism and just how it can really just affect viewers, man. Like it makes you think like, oh man, this is some stuff that there's a reason why they're portraying stories like this, because it's happening out there in real life. Again, with the propaganda, the brainwashing, the using Titans as the real world problems kind of thing, when really there's more conspiracies and there's more worse issues out there that's being covered up by the Titans. And so it's overall, it's just a great show, and I'm glad that I was able to talk a little bit about Attack on Titan with you, Mike. And I loved how you broke that stuff down. So that was some great explanation right there for for the ones who are listening. And hopefully we can do some more Attack on Titan talk soon. And with tomorrow's episode, I can't wait to see how people are going to react, because I know what's going to happen next, but I can't wait to see what's going to happen. But yeah, we're coming towards the end of the show here, Mike. Again, thank you so much for being on the podcast, man, and just talking about Nebula Amusements and Hado, and just letting the fans getting to know you a little bit more through just the Attack on Titan talk. If folks want to follow you or Nebula, how can they reach out to you?
Oh, we're on Instagram at Nebula Amusements. We're on Facebook, Nebula Amusements as well. We also have a website, www.nebulaamusements.com. You can message us, send us email. If you want to, please check out our game to see what it's about. It's actually like really fun and really high level. And it's some of the best Japanese gaming the best gaming I've ever seen. It's like what I used to fantasize about as a kid that I wish was real. When I'd watch Dragon Ball Z, I actually fantasized this specific game where you could shoot orbs at other people with your hands, and it's now a real thing. If you want to see us at a convention, reach out to them and let them know. So many conventions will reach out to people on social media and say, what do you guys want to see at next year's con? What's going to cause you to come? What's going to cause you to buy tickets? If you're interested in what we have, contact the conventions that you're going to or you want to go to. And if you want to see us there, let them know, demand us. So follow us. If you want a shirt, shoot me a message. I'll get you one mailed out to you. And if you are interested in coming to one of our events and we don't have one up, let me know where you're at. Say, hey, I'm in this city. And if we can get enough for a certain area, I can plan things out I can plan out COVID conscious events as well, where you book an hour and it's just your group for the hour. Then we clean everything down. Then the next group comes in. I've put together all different types of kind of setups to where we can do it and keep everybody safe. And even at the cons, we don't use lines. It's a digital queue. So once you register to play, you can just go do whatever you want at the con, and then you'll get a text message when it's your turn. Everything's wiped down between use. It's a large court, so you can stay separated. Yeah, we're ready to rock. So if you're interested, hit us up. If you are an attraction provider, you have an arcade, you have a bar, you have a restaurant, we partner up with people to do events. And so we'd love to come and set up at your place for a weekend, bring all of our people out, have them buy food and drinks at your event. Then your people are there as well, and they can play too. If you got, knife throwing or carnival rides or whatever, and you want to do an event together, let's put on a themed event together. Hit me up as well. I love working with other people, and it's just about building something and to be able to compete with the big guy.
All right, so you heard it there, folks. Make sure you guys check out Nebula Amusements and continue to support them. Again, support your local businesses too in Michigan or anywhere where you live. And again, thank you, Mike, for being on the podcast, man. I loved having you on. So if you ever want to jump back on and talk more about your business or even just doing anime talk, let me know. I'll make time for you. And thank you for this opportunity, man.
For sure, man. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, folks. So this is episode 83 of Spoiler Force Podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and have a great day. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow, like, share, subscribe, and rate Spoiler Force Podcast. If you have any guest recommendations, comments, questions, concerns, or criticism, you can email me at rickyvang92@gmail.com or message me online on any of my social media platforms. Want to listen to more pop culture themed podcasts? Then check out the Epic Sewers Podcast Network. There are shows like the Epic Tales from the Sewers, the Comic Watchers Show, What's in My Head Podcast, and Spoiler Force Podcast. Make sure to follow us each on social media and find us on any major podcasting platform. Thank you for the support.